Hello, everybody. Welcome back to You've Been Joshed with Josh. I am your host, Josh. Yes, 50 episodes. The big 5-0. We're in the Endgame now. I think that's a good choice of words. I hinted at an announcement last week during the episode with Sindrag. And today, on the big celebratory day of 50 fucking episodes, which is absolutely nuts, that we've been doing this for so long, over a year, 50 episodes. It comes with a bittersweet announcement. Although this is our 50th episode, it is also our last episode for the You've Been Josh podcast. I took a lot of time. It's been like the last 4 months that I've been thinking about it. And I've come to the decision that I rather facilitate my time towards something else. However, it's nothing to do with the fact that I dislike the podcast. It's nothing to do with the fact that the podcast was taking too much time. I wanted to facilitate the time that I was spending on this podcast towards another project. Because life's crazy. Life is absolutely nutty, and you only have a certain amount of time each day. I feel sad, because this was like my baby. All the way back in last year, in the start of like May, I started 11Z's in the Orchard, which just stemmed from me and my best friend JP, who's been my OG mod since I started streaming, getting in a call on Discord together and just talking during my stream, him just chowing down on a fucking Jimmy John sub, and me having some fucking eggs and toast, and us just talking while we ate, and it was just really funny and entertaining, and people loved it, so we went with it, and we got a little thing going every Saturday. 11Z's in the Orchard. I'd bring on a guest. We'd have breakfast and drink coffee as we talked about streaming and life. And I loved it. And I was like, you know what? This would be great as a podcast. Why don't we switch formats, make it into, a podcast? And this is what it's become. You've Been Josh. Obviously, it's evolved over time. We've made a lot of changes. But I've learned a lot from it. And I can see what I would want to do with a podcast in the next time. Does that make sense? But I have a lot of projects coming up, and although one episode every week is not that much, making sure I record it early and get it out to my Patreons. The bonus episode that's not posted on social media, that's just for Patreon, I record that. And one of the biggest things for time restrictions is just getting guests on. That was a big thing, and I work around their schedule. I got to be flexible, and it's a little easier that I'm full time, but it's hard to do. It's very hard to do. So it comes in oh sweet sorrow, but although this is the 50th episode and we're celebrating today, it is bittersweet because it is also the last. And so I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for listening for this fucking long, and all of your support since the beginning. It's changed a lot. We've talked about a lot of different things, and it's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. I put out a request on stream as well as my Patreon for people to ask questions, because I figured it'd be nice to do a little Q&A and reminisce a little bit on how much, all the things we've done. You know what I'm saying? We've done so much on the podcast. It's been a very lengthy experience, a year and a half of my life that I've put into this, and I couldn't have asked for a better experience, to be honest. It was really good. It brought me out of my comfort zone a lot. I go back to like the first couple episodes, the indulge the Pharaoh and like the best of PA and those types of episodes, the ones that are like right in the beginning where I was like getting more comfortable with it and waiting to have guests on because I was anal about it. And I was like, I don't want to bring a guest on until I know exactly how I want to run this. And it's just me rambling. It's just fucking me rambling. And the episodes now are pretty much the same. However, I feel like I'm a little bit more comfortable with just sitting and talking, you know? I always joke about how, because I'm such an introverted person, like when I go out, I'm very quiet and reserved and shy. But then people see me on stream and they're like, what the fuck? You're not that way. You can't be that way in life. And it's just because I don't, like my social battery gets drained so quickly out in public, you know? Whereas on stream, I get to have, I'm behind my own screen. I'm in my own house. I'm just talking to names on a screen. And yes, I have a connection with those names on the screen, but it's not that same energy, you know? So my energy can be a lot higher. I feel more comfortable. And this, I always joke because it's like, this is taking it a step further. There's no chat. It's just me. It's me and a camera, and I'm staring at it. And I'm just talking about things that I find interesting or funny, you know? And that's what I love about podcasts is I remember in like high school, I worked a lumber mill job, and we were allowed to have our headphones and stuff on as long as it wasn't in the way with cords and stuff to get hooked on things as a safety precaution, you know? And I would just listen to podcasts. The Minimalists, fucking shout out to them. There's a one about relationships that I started listening to right at that time because Joy and I had just started dating, and I wanted to hear other people's relationships and experiences and learn from that to grow as a person in our relationship. There was a gaming podcast I listened to. Can't remember the names of them. It's been so long with those, but those first few podcasts always set me off to listening to more. And now I listen to so many, and it's just nice to have that kind of thing in the back of your ear while you're driving or you're working, or you know. And that's kind of how streaming is as well, you know. And so it's being able to create my own podcast and see the growth of how much I've grown as a person, and also making the content of the podcast over the last year has been such an awesome thing. Like looking back at those first episodes and listening to them, I was all over the place. You could tell I was nervous. I was stumbling over my words, and I still do that too. I like to keep the podcast raw. I don't edit them. But you know, it's one of those things where I can see that growth. I can see how much I've changed since the beginning. So that's always such a cool thing to look at. But yeah, no, today's episode's not going to be long. It's a send off, but also a moment to reflect and be gracious for all the things that I've done. I think that one of the biggest things that I've personally learned in making content or just working in general is, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, you should take time in your day, not to let your ego inflate, but also to boost your mood and your impression of yourself, and remind yourself of all the things that you've accomplished. You know, like you should be proud of yourself. You should be proud of what you're putting forward, and you should look at how in ways you can improve and stuff like that. And I think that this is something that, although I have gained so much from this podcast, I think the biggest decision and the best decision for me right now is to end it here, right on a good note at 50 episodes, and put my efforts into something else, and grow something else and make that my baby. You know. So we're gonna do a little Q&A. I asked some questions. I asked some people to send me some questions, and I got a couple here. So we're gonna go through them one by one, and I'm gonna answer them. All right, are we ready? Prep yourselves. All right. So first off, how would you envision your content as a whole? As a podcast, live stream, short form reels, blog, etc., 5 years from now? Granting, it steadily grew and stabilized with viewership, community, and support from sponsors. How do I envision my content 5 years from now? This is the age old interview question. I love that. So obviously this is a tough one. I would of course want to see this stream and everything else grow and continue to grow, for forever. I don't think there's ever an end goal. I'm just, as long as I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? I think that a lot of the times people ask that, and like that will change all the time. Like your goals, your wants, your needs will change so frequently as time goes on that what you wanted 5 years from last year is different from what you wanted 5 years from today. It's just your goals will change. What I envision and what I hope for is that it's what I have now, only more, you know? um, Steady growth is a huge thing. What is it, a month ago now, I started doing daily uploads. Those have been doing very, very well. And I'm not planning on ending those anytime soon. I'd like to do some more uh YouTube content, be it just videos or reviews or something in that regard. Um, but yeah, just keep pushing and keep doing what I've been doing, and if it comes, it comes. Yeah, joke, joke, joke. But no, that's how I see it. I think that it'll be the same as it is right now, just with more energy and more backing, if that makes sense. Like the community will be larger, and with that, I think that the hype will be larger, if that makes sense. Like during streams and stuff, I think that it'll be a bigger experience because it'd be more of a show. So that's how I envision it, of course. But of course, who knows? Who knows what 5 years will bring? I hope I'm still doing streams. But you never know. You never know. Next up, if you had not decided to do content creation back when the pandemic hit, what would be happening right now in this moment as been joshed? Um, that's a hard one. Obviously, when I started streaming, it was during right after lockdown happened and things were slowing, like opening back up, but there were still like quarantines and stuff like that happening. It was very limited. A lot of people were still out of work, or still quarantining at home and still in lockdown themselves. But as I was working at Starbucks, I was like one of the first people to come back after the big lockdown where everyone was out. Um, I don't know. At the time, I was just platinuming games, playing games while I did Starbucks, and I knew at the time I wasn't happy at the location I was. It wasn't really anything to do with Starbucks in particular. I think my love and passion for like retail work had diminished because of COVID. And so I don't think I would be still working at Starbucks if I hadn't done streaming. I think I still would have left there, but I think I would have gone into some like desk job field, probably something I could have done from home, or gone into an office and then come home, something like that. I'd probably still do I'd probably do like a customer service job, but not in the direct line of customers. If that makes sense. That's probably what would have happened if I hadn't. But again, who's to know? That's in the past now. I have no idea what would have happened. I 7 years ago, I would have thought that I was going to be, well, more than 7 years ago now, I would have thought I would be doing theater as my career, and then business, and then there's the juice bar, and then than me just working, and doing odd jobs, thinking I was just going to be a worker for the rest of my life. And now I'm doing this, So um, things change so frequently. I have no idea where life would have taken me if I had went down that route. But I'm really happy that it's led me this way. Here I am. And I'm sorry that the energy's not higher today, everybody. I'm in the feels right now, like this is sad. I feel sad. I don't know why, I mean, obviously all of these episodes of the podcast will still be on Spotify and all the socials and stuff, so we'll be able to listen to them at any point. Obviously, after a year, I'm gonna look back at these and I'm gonna be like, these are super cringe. Like some of the episodes that I look back to at the beginning of this podcast, I feel like it's super cringe. But it's history now. It's part of my history. It's the lore, It's all about the lore. All right, next question. You decided to eat at a pasta restaurant. To avail their food, you should only choose 3 types of pasta and 2 kinds of sauces every time you visit. For this particular moment, which pasta and sauce combination would you choose and why? I'm not sure what the question entails. However, if I had to, I think it's I can only have 2 types of pasta and 2 types of sauces for the rest of my life going there. I would say for sauces, vodka sauce is my red, because I feel like it has more flavor. It's got a little creaminess to it. And then like a garlic pesto. I really like pesto. Those would be my 2 sauces. And then for pasta, I love angel hair. Angel hair is amazing. But then I also love penne pasta. That's like my other pasta of choice. But those would be that would be my 2 pasta choices and my 2 sauce choices. I really like vodka sauce. It's delicious. All right, next one. Please tell us more about how you came up with your brand. They also added, I know this is not a question, however, I'm interested. Cool. Please tell us more about how you came up with your brand. I think I've talked about this a little bit in the past. However, when I was younger, I thought it was so interesting that my name could be used as the term for joke. I'm just joshing you. I'm just joshing you. And I thought that was the funniest thing ever, and I loved that. So I had a stamp made up. I had one of those address stamps made up, but it was a custom one from Vistaprint. Shout out Vistaprint, not a sponsor. And it just said, "You've been joshed," and I would stamp it on on different people's papers at school. I would stamp it on my homework and stuff. It's just a joke, I'd stamp people's arms, just be like, "You've been joshed," got him, like that kind of thing. And it just kind of stuck. So my user handle on socials became been joshed. But as for the branding with the apples and the green stuff, my name has nothing to do with it. Surprisingly, that was just the name that I've always had for socials, and I like it. It works, and you can make a lot of memes from it. But as for the branding of the apples and green, I've always loved apples. It's a very prevalent thing in where I grew up in Gettysburg, where they have a bunch of apple orchards around, and it's like a pretty prominent thing in that area. And so I just had them a lot, And with the juice bar, I had a name that was very close to apples, so I just kind of stuck it. I got a tattoo of my logo from the juice bar on my arm, so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna have this apple tattoo for the rest of my life. I might as well just keep going with that. Why don't I just keep making my brand apples? Why don't for stream I'll just have everything green. Green's my favorite color. I'll just continue that, and I'll have the green and the apples, and I'll just keep going. That was basically my mindset. I didn't really think much about it. However, apples are one of those things where it's just everyone knows what an apple is. Everyone sees them. Everyone's at least had one once in their life, you know? Um, so that was my mindset was green's a great color, makes people feel nice. Apples are a very common thing. A lot of people do like techno or stuff like that. I was just like, let's just keep it apples. Let's keep it simple. And I just went with it. And, here we are. We have like a little character of the Juice Boy. The Juice came out later on in my streaming career of like the Juice Boy, the juice boxes and stuff, but it works. It pairs well with it and it works. It's weird, but it works. You know what I'm saying? It's simplistic. Sometimes I think the best thing you can do is simplicity because why make things difficult? But that was a great question. Thank you. How are you doing, Ben Josh? I'm specifically asking you when you record this, how does it feel that you have come this far in your career as a content creator? Oh man, I'm doing good. I talked about this on stream the other day. One of my guests, huge shout out to Chaotic Good Mage. They live by a discipline, because the discipline is the right word for it, of being honest with oneself and others, which is something I strive to do every day. However, I am a bit of a pushover and I want to make people feel good. I'm a people pleaser. So if me telling people how I feel gives them grief or it stresses them out because they got their own stuff, I tend not to be honest in that moment. It's the one time that I do my little white lies of, hey, like I'm great. Like, you smile through it. And I hate dishonesty. So it's something I've been trying to be better about. And they're always so honest about it. Whenever I ask Mage, hey, how you doing? They're always like, you know what? Today I'm not doing the greatest, but I'll be okay. Thank you for asking, And I always appreciate that because I think people should be more honest with themselves and others with how they're feeling. And it's something I strive to be better at. So at the time, as of right now, I'm actually doing fantastic. However, I am very sad because as I'm recording this, I know that next week is going to come around and I'm going to be like, all right, let's do the podcast. And I'm going to be like, oh, wait, I'm not recording that this week. It's done. It's over. And that's a weird thing to think about because it has been a part of my life for over a year. And I've been recording and putting it out and doing it and planning it every week for the last year, which is so crazy to me, And I only got through a portion of the people of guests that I wanted to get through. A portion. It's a very small portion. And I that's another thing that I feel like I'm letting some people down with that because it's like I would love to get everyone in, but it's hard. It took up so much time. Planning it out was very difficult, and so it's bittersweet. I'm happy with where I'm at with content wise. I would love to improve, and I would love to see more growth. But I think that's how everyone feels. But I'm doing good, and I hope you're doing well. Whoever asked that question, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing good. The next question is, how big is your D? My D is actually pretty large. I got it from Michael's. I painted it and I have it on my shelf in my living room. It's just a giant letter D. It's pretty big. But I just like to look at it. Makes me feel like a little dingus. You know what I'm saying? That's what it stands for, dingus. But yeah, thank you for asking that question. What was your favorite episode so far? That's hard. That's hard. One of the other things that led to my decision for ending the podcast was I stream 5 days a week, every week, unless I take a day off or something like that, or I get sick or whatnot. Think life things. But I say so much during my streams and on the podcasts and stuff. We talk about so many things that it's gotten to the point after 50 episodes where I don't remember if I've talked about something or not. Like I'll be like, "Oh, I remember this story." And then I'm like, "Have I said this story before?" And then I'll remember like, "Oh yeah, I have told this story. But did I say it on the podcast or did I say it during stream one time?" It's very hard like remembering what I've talked about. Um and also after 50 episodes like I thinking back on all the episodes like when I go back and I listen to some of them again, I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot I talked about this. You know, it's just been so long. Um, and I don't think I could come up with my favorite episode. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that all of them brought their own thing. However, I don't think anything will trump the uh, the excitement I had the first like two episodes of the podcast. I was just so excited to record the podcast, and I was nervous, but at the same time, I was excited, and yeah, I think that just pure joy. Not that I lost that, but like just like the initial excitement of it was just like it had me fucking zooming, you know. Um, I think those first couple episodes are just so innocent in that vein, if that makes sense. Um, that's my answer. The first couple episodes are my favorite, just because of that reason. Not that they're better than any of the other ones. I really like the new layout that we have in the guest episodes, but I think that's that's my thing. Um, tell what is one thing that you are most excited about for your brand in the upcoming years or months or so? Um, oh man, I think that what I'm most excited for is newness, you know? I think that everyone as like as humans, as human beings, change is inevitable and change is also good sometimes. And we're always like looking for new things. We like new things. And so it's only natural that we change and that we try new things and stuff like that. And so I think that just knowing that I'm going to be playing new games, I'm going to be trying new things. I've got new projects that are coming up. Every single month when we do Been Found now, the Fortnite hide and go seek that we've been doing, we have new people come in to try that. They always have new items, so it's a different experience every time. Just like those types of things, those always excite me. And I think in regards to like what I'm most excited for, it would have to be um, all of it. I don't mean to be that guy and say everything, but honestly, everything. I mean, um, so far, everything has led to good things. Like, yeah, there's been bad things that have happened. However, they've always led me to more happiness. And I think that's the point, you know? So yeah, I'm just excited for more happiness. If that makes sense. Hopefully. Let's put that into the universe. More happiness, please. All right. What's your next goal for stream? So obviously just growth. I think that's the biggest thing for me is just I want to grow. Um, I'm obviously really happy with what we've gotten so far and what we've all achieved together so far because it is a group thing. Like without my community, I wouldn't be where I am. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of work, but the people showing up are putting in the work too. They're coming and hanging out and spending time and subbing and supporting me in different ways. So it's a community effort. Like we're growing together. Um, I'm just like I think that just growing my view count. I think like obviously I'm not huge about numbers. I just like looking at analytics. However, um, getting new people who are returning viewers and people who show up like 9 times out of 10, I think that's like the biggest thing for me. I just want to see more familiar faces in stream and just see that continue to grow and grow and grow. Um, because I think that's like the most exciting thing is when someone pops in, they're like, "Hey," and then the next stream, "Hey," and the next stream, "Hey," and you're like, "Holy shit!" Like, super nice of you to come in, even if it is for like 30 minutes to an hour, just to hang out. you're coming in so frequently and coming back. I'm like, so I think that's my next big goal is just growing. Growing. Next question. Would you open a juice bar again? I've been asked this multiple times. I don't think I would open a juice bar. And the biggest reason is product, because a product and education. Education on the fact of what a juice bar is, and also health education. Everybody's different, every person's different. So everybody's health is going to be different and what they need and stuff. You shouldn't just make decisions for your body unless you know what you need. Juice bars are amazing, and they're very, very good, and they're fresh and they're tasty. However, to keep that freshness, you have a limited window of how long you can hold a product before you need to get new ones. So if you have a slow week, you have to throw out a bunch of product. You have to, like, not that I was throwing it out. What the beautiful part was? All of the extra food that I didn't like use up, or any of the pulp that I would grind up with the juicer, there was a local pig farm that came and picked up all the scraps. And I had a trash can underneath, like a giant gallon, like trash can tub thing underneath my bar that I would feed all the scraps into. And they would come by and I would give it to them, and they would just take it and they'd feed it to their pigs, and their pigs would get a bunch of just fucking fruits and veggies. It was awesome. It was the perfect pairing. So, and I didn't want to, I didn't want to throw it out. But it's just harder to keep that sustainable, if that makes sense. So if I was to ever do something again, I would want to do like a coffee shop-esque type thing, but focus it more on smoothies, because with smoothies, you can get fresh berries and freeze them, and they last a long time and stay fresh. Well, it can't technically be called fresh. I'm not a professional, okay? Remember that, please. I opened that juice bar when I was fucking 18. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. There's a reason it's closed. But I would do smoothies because it's just easier, and more people know what smoothies are. They know what to expect. The education side of it isn't needed there. It's just they know what they're getting. But yeah, I think that's what I would do if I was to ever open again. However, I don't think I will. It's a lot of effort, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, and with everything else that I've got going on, plus the free time that I like to keep with my wife, I think that would take up too much of my life. And I try to keep that divide. There's time with me and my dog and me and my wife, and then there's stream stuff. And I try to separate those and facilitate each day a certain amount of time that I make sure I allot just for my family, and I feel like adding something like that would be like a retirement thing, so that way streaming's done and I just focus all my effort into that. But who knows? Talk about 5 years down the road. Who fucking knows, man? Who fucking knows? Question. If you had to only play one game for the rest of your streaming career, what would it be? You're allowed to play games outside of stream, but you can only play one game on stream for the rest of your life. What would it be? If I was to only be able to stream one game on stream, like I had to choose one game to just play over and over and over again whenever I streamed, it would be Minecraft. I think that would be the best way to have differentiation, because every single time you play, it's going to be different. Every location will be different. But then also, they always have updates, and also they have mods galore. They have so many mods. Minecraft is so fluid, fluid, I should say, not fluent, fluid. There's just so many different options that you can choose and put on there, and I think that it opens the door for so many possibilities that every time you play it will be different, or you could have it be different. Whereas I feel like other games, there's a plateau that you hit. Obviously, with Minecraft, it's the same, but you can always restart and have a different experience. But I think other games, you hit that plateau, or it's just the same thing over and over and over again. I think Minecraft would be the only way that I'd be able to do it repeatedly over and over and over. That's my answer. I'd love to hear what you guys would choose if you were a streamer and stuff. What you would do in that regard. Um, there's two more questions here. Any regrets? Oh wait, and three more questions. Any regrets? Um, of course. You know, there are things that I wish I could have or would have done differently. Um, in both streaming and in the podcast or um just life, you know. But I think that I've kind of lived by this motto for a long time. It's something I've tried to ingrain into my brain, ingrain in that brain, baby. Is that there's only moving forward. There's no turning back in the sense of your experiences. If it's happened, it happened. There's nothing you can really do to change the fact that it happened. And that it goes into also things that happen to you. There's nothing you can do to change what someone else did to you either. The only thing you do is move forward and learn from it. So yeah, I got plenty of regrets. I got plenty. Things that I wish I would have done sooner. Things I wish I would have done differently. But you can only put your foot forward and learn from those things and continue to get going, and just learn. You know, yeah. Thank you for that question. I appreciate that. Could you explain any of the things you've learned about podcasting in the last year? Oh, man, you know, every podcast is different. You know, every podcast is different. I think doing this podcast has taught me a lot about like audio and stuff like that. Like having good audio is key. I feel like my podcast does pretty well on my end for audio. Obviously it's not the best, but it's better than most. And I think the other things that I've just learned is what this specific podcast, You've Been Joshed, has been a passion project, and it's also taught me exactly what I would want to do in the future if I were to start another podcast. Um, like this has taught me what I like and what I don't like about podcasting and what I would want to do differently next time. Because once you start like a type of podcast, you can't really change it that much halfway through or like partial way through because people know and they came for what you're doing, and if you change it, it doesn't stay true to what it is. And so that's why I try not to change it too much over the year that we've been here. Obviously, we have made some changes, but again, it's one of those things where I've learned from it, and I would definitely do it differently in the future. You know, it evolves. It evolves. Every podcast evolves. It's just one of those things. But those are some of the things that I've learned. And this is the last question. I also think this is a great one to end on. But if you could go back and talk to your 12-year-old self, what would you say? This is another one of those situations where I try not to like look back because there's only moving forward. However, if you want the true and like the true answer, I would just say don't be an asshole. Keep your head up and believe in yourself. Because at 12 years of age, I had just started theater. I was living in Gettysburg. I just started theater. And I was finally, for the first time in my life, coming out of my shell and becoming the first evolution of Josh, the first stage of Josh, finding my personality and who I am. I think through middle school and high school, because of the experiences I had in my life, the atmosphere in which I lived and the people I surrounded myself with, as well as just pure and undistinguished jealousy, ignorance, and lack of education in terms of just social stuff. I was a completely different person than what I am now. Um, but through being that person, you know, uh, and the experiences I learned from being that person, um, has led me to now. So I feel like if I wasn't who I was back then and I didn't grow from those experiences and grow, like that's just life, you know. I wouldn't be who I am now, and I like who I am now, and I'm proud of who I am now. You know, so the three big things that I would tell myself, even though again, this obviously don't look back, and also I don't want to change anything. However, um, however, I would say don't be a dick. uh, Confidence is key, and believe in yourself. Like keep your head up and believe in yourself. Um, yeah, that's what I would say to 12-year-old me, little Josh with the fucking mop head, little mop head Josh. Yeah, that's what I would say. And I think that's a really important takeaway from all of this is that yes, this podcast was not perfect. Yes, it probably shouldn't have been labeled a comedy podcast. Yes, there are things that I wish I could have done differently. However, I wouldn't have I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it for the world because what it was and what it is and what it has become has influenced me and made me who I am now. Even though it's only been a year from last year to now, this podcast has been a huge influence on me. And just one person, just one, even though I know there's many, just one person reaching out and being like, "Hey, I love that episode. That really resonated with me. I loved your conversation with that person. I loved what you were talking about." It it makes it worth it, right? Like that's what content creation's about. You're putting out stuff that you want other people to enjoy, and if they enjoy it, you've done your job. You know? And after 50 episodes, I feel like I've done that. I feel like I've done that. And now it's time for bigger and better things. And that's fucking sad, but at the same time, this will always be here as a memento of what I've done and what I've accomplished. And we've done a fucking shit ton. We've done so many things. We've had so many guests. We've had so many discussions. I've talked to so many on so many different topics, you know? And the only way is up, baby. The only way is up. So with that, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for fucking listening for the last year. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to this and it's been a really long time and you're just finding the podcast now, hopefully I'm still doing stuff and you can go listen to go watch me somewhere else or I have another project you can listen to. But thank you for listening. Thank you. Thank you. I really do appreciate you. It means the world to me every single time that I get to do one of these things and I get feedback. It's nice. It's rewarding. It's rewarding in itself. So thank you for listening. I'm just saying that over and over again because I know this is going to be sad to do. But everybody, for the last time, eat your apples and stay funky, my dudes. I'll see you when I see you. Peace, everybody.